Hello, Memphis-Shelby County Schools. I'm Dr. Kanesha Moore, your psychology postdoctoral fellow at the Family Care Clinics. And today, the doctor is in with facts about grief and loss. Life, what a beautiful thing. It's filled with experiences that cause great joy, and sometimes experiences that cause some pain. As people, we tend to try and avoid the difficulties of life, but as surely as we are alive, we will experience hardships such as loss. And those losses may lead to feelings of grief. Typically, when we think of grief and loss, we associate it with the passing of a loved one, but death isn't the only type of loss we experience. And it isn't the only cause of grief. Losing a job, a pet, a cherished artifact, leaving a relationship, losing a piece of your identity or independence, or even moving to a new place may also lead to feelings of grief. So what exactly is grief? Well, according to the American Psychological Association, grief is the anguish experienced after significant loss, usually the death of a beloved person. Although natural and normal, grief is still an emotionally painful experience that people sometimes confuse with sadness or depression. So how does one know when they're grieving? It's dependent on the individual. And the obvious answer is that you know you're grieving because you're sad after you've experienced a loss. But truthfully, not all people feel sadness after loss. Some people feel relief, some feel guilt, and some feel apathy. Oftentimes, however, grief includes physiological distress, separation anxiety, confusion, yearning, obsessive dwelling on the past, and apprehension about the future. Researchers have developed an understanding of grief that's easy to comprehend. One researcher explained 5 stages of grief that most people experience: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. While this framework helps us identify our feelings, the stages are not linear, and there is no specific time frame on when we may progress from one stage to the next. So what are you saying, Dr. Moore? Well, I'm saying that grief is complex, and with significant losses, it can be lengthy. It may have been a decade since experiencing a loss, and you may have been fine the last 9 out of 10 years. Then one day you walk past a cookie stand and the sweet aroma brings tears to your eyes. That scent may have been a trigger, and the feelings you felt when initially having your loss may all come rushing back. That is grief, and that is normal. Or maybe an anniversary of a loss is approaching, and you're finding it difficult to relax. That also may be grief, and that too is normal. You may be wondering, if grief can last forever, then how can I ever be okay? That's a great question. Here's an answer and some encouragement. Think of yourself as a mason jar, and think of grief as a round metal ball that sits at the bottom, taking up quite a bit of space. As time progresses, you, the mason jar, expands, but the grief stays the same. Initially, grief consumed most of you, but over time you grew. Your attention went to other things. You've had more experiences. You've likely created some positive moments and memories. So the grief never left, but you learned to live with it. Learning to live with the loss and grief is how we can all be okay. If living with your grief seems unattainable on your own, it's imperative that you seek help, because wallowing alone in your despair won't get you anywhere. Lean into your faith or reach out to loved ones. If that isn't possible, then seek professional care, because unresolved or unprocessed grief can lead to other mental health related issues such as anxiety, depression, or even suicidal ideation. And like I said before, Ain't nobody got time for that, all right? Fortunately for you, Memphis-Shelby County Schools has resources in place to help with your mental health related concerns. If needed, Methodist EAP can be contacted at 901-683-5658 to schedule an appointment, or at 800-880-5658 for 24-hour crisis telephone response. They provide services for yourself and anyone in your household. Appointments can also be scheduled with me, either in person at 130 Flicker Street or virtually. Just call 901-416-6079 to make an appointment for yourself or for your dependents. And if ever help is needed when other resources are not available, the National Crisis Hotline can be utilized 24/7 by dialing 988 or texting HOME to 741-741. Again, I am Dr. Kanesha Moore, your psychology postdoctoral fellow at the Family Care Clinics, where we aim to provide you with the best possible holistic health care. Thank you for tuning in to The Doctor Is In. Y'all have a good one.